Hello, this is Ben119 and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to carry on with my Twilight Princess HD dungeon design series. So this is dungeon number 8, the Palace of Twilight, and this is the second to last dungeon in the whole series, which is pretty cool. So if you're still watching and you've watched all of the dungeons previously, then thank you so much because it means a lot to me. And we just got 2 left, so we've got this one and the final one. So let's crack on with them. So this dungeon here, Palace of Twilight, I have split opinions on it. For one, I like the way it looks. I think it is a really cool looking dungeon. I really like the Twilight aspect to it. But at the same time, the actual dungeon itself and the actual puzzles and the rooms, I'm not a huge fan of, and I'll talk about them as I go through them. The first thing I want to mention is these Twilight creatures here, and they're actually humans living in the Twilight world who have been turned into monsters by Zant. So basically our job is to get to Zant, kill Zant, and turn all of these people back to normal. So let's just go into the dungeon. So we can only go left at the moment. Going forward, we're not able to really go forward at the moment, and there's a big gap on the right path, so we're not able to go that way either. So let's just head into this room here. And the first thing you'll notice is all of these enemies and the enemy music is different. So it's basically enemy music of the Twilight Realm. You know, in the story how you are in the Twilight Realm sometimes early in the game. It's basically got the same kind of enemies from there, and I think it does make sense. Like it does seem a bit weird, but it does make a lot of sense because we are in the Twilight world at the moment. So getting used to all these enemies is a bit weird. They're basically the same, but they just look different and act slightly different. And we got these Zant heads, so I just killed one of them. They're not very hard to kill, they're a bit underwhelming to be honest. And all you have to do is kill them, and you get a chest usually for killing them, because they're usually like the main enemies, and the game wants you to focus on killing them for some reason. So we can use a double claw shot in this room to get up to this door. We got a key, and this key is basically used straight away. So something else about this dungeon, it is a very linear dungeon compared to like Lakebed Temple. Lakebed Temple is a good example of a non-linear dungeon. Even though it is linear and you have to follow a certain path, there's usually like more than one way to go all the time. And you can check out different areas, and you can basically go around different ways to things. And it's really cool, and you have a lot of searching to do, and it's really difficult. With this dungeon here, it's always quite clear on where you need to be going. You're usually travelling in a straight line in this dungeon, and there's usually only like one main path open at once. So it is a big change. And you'd think for one of the last dungeons that they almost do the opposite. Like, you'd think they make it really hard because it's the final dungeon. You think they make it really confusing to know where to go, but it's actually really simple. And something else I didn't talk about is this Black Twilight stuff. I'm just going to call it Black Twilight stuff in this video. And basically when you walk into it as Link, it turns you into a wolf, and you're not able to turn back into Link unless you're outside of it. So you're not able to stand in it and just turn to Link. The game doesn't want you to do that. And you may have seen some of it in the previous room, falling down from the ceiling. And there is ways of getting rid of this stuff, but for now we're not able to get rid of it. So we just need to get through it for now. Something else, quick tip, when you open a large chest as Wolf Link, you turn back into Link for some reason when you open it. So that can be an easy way of turning back into human. If you need to, it can be quite convenient at times. So we got another key for killing the Zant heads. So we're going to go up some more double claw shot targets. And we can get to this chest from here, and this chest has something of value in it. Have a guess what it is. So, while you're guessing, I'm gonna say what it is. It is a stamp. So, it's an Angry Midna stamp, I think I said. And we've nearly got all the stamps. I've not really done a stamp guide because I've only been doing dungeons. It's not been a full let's play, it's just been playing the dungeons. I would be tempted to do a full let's play, but I could maybe do that. But I've got other things that I'd want to do for YouTube, and I don't really think that'd be the best thing. There's loads of let's plays out there, I bet, that are really good. And there's loads of guides, loads of walkthroughs of this game. This is more of like a review series, more of an opinion series. It's kind of a walkthrough series as well, because I'm showing you how to do the dungeons. But with this dungeon here, we basically got to this point, and there's like a massive hand, and something's going to happen obviously because there's a cutscene, and it's dramatic, and it's like a big empty room. So there's a mini boss, and this is, I think it's Phantom Zant. It's basically like a shadow version of Zant. It's like Phantom Ganon in Wind Waker or whatever. And I think this mini boss I'm not sure what other people think of this mini boss, but I don't like this mini boss. I like what they went for with it. Like they went for they tried to make it really hard by making him spawn loads of enemies near you and have him warp around the room, but in my opinion it just comes off as really annoying and really dragged out, this fight. Like basically what you have to do is you have to chase him, and when he's about to fire enemies at you, you have to hit him. But my problem with this fight is you spend most of your time doing nothing. Like right here, he's literally just warping around the room like randomly, and this fight just takes ages and it's really time consuming, it's not very hard, and all the enemies are super easy to take out. If loads of hard enemies fell from like the sky, if it was like the Wizrobe fight in Wind Waker, the Wind Temple, is one of my favourite mini bosses, and it's because it's really chaotic and it's really difficult. Because there's like loads of like enemies falling down on you, there's like loads of like knights and moblins everywhere, and the bird that is making them all appear is like spawning all around the room and you can shoot it. But with this boss here, you're not able to really use your bow, you have to use your sword as well, so you can't even like use your bow to shoot him. Plus all the enemies he's spawning aren't very challenging, and it's a bit of a boring arena as well. Like, it's okay. I like how you have to fight him as he's doing something else. I think that's a cool way of fighting him, because that's when he's weak. You have to fight him when he's about to fire something at you. It's pretty cool. But it's just a bit of a boring fight, and if they had changed a few things with it, it could have been a really good fight, but sadly it's not. So there's some more Twilight stuff in this room that's just appeared. So you're going to see what that does in a minute. Now there is this glowing ball that we're going to pick up. And as you can see, it gets rid of the Twilight stuff. So we're going to get rid of it, obviously, because it's bad. It turns us into a wolf, and we don't want that, do we? However, when you do pick up this ball, it does awaken this hand. And this hand does start to slowly chase you through the dungeon. And what we have to do is we have to get this ball back to the main room before the hand gets it. And if we don't, the hand will take it back to this room. Like, it doesn't game you over or anything, he just takes it back to this room. It's not very overwhelming, I guess, what he does. But it's still really inconvenient if that happens. If he does grab it though, like, you can grab it back off him. Like, before he exits the room, you can claw shot it out of his hand. That is something that the game doesn't really teach you about this ball that I do appreciate. This ball is actually hook-shottable, and it doesn't say that, and I think that's cool because you have to claw shot it for like a few puzzles. Coming up, this puzzle here, you have to claw shot it for. But the game never teaches you that, so if you don't know that, you can be stuck for a while in this room here, like really confused. So basically it makes a staircase, and we're able to get up this staircase. However, we've not got the ball with us, so it seems a bit pointless at first, because when we get rid of the ball, the staircase goes. So what we actually have to do is we have to go up to this solid piece of ground, hookshot the ball from here, and then carry on. I think puzzles like that in this temple are really cool, and I like puzzles where you have to think under pressure. Because with some puzzles, you can kind of just do them and you have infinite amount of time. Even though there's no in-game timer for this, there is a hand chasing us, and obviously you need to think quite fast. Because if you don't, he'll take it off you, and you have to try again. So I guess you could get through this with trial and error, but if you know that you can hookshot him straight away, then that's going to save you a lot of time. And plus he's going to follow you through each room, so don't think you're safe once you get out of one room, because he's just going to follow you. There is a hidden chest over here, so if you head over to this Twilight Waterfall, I'm going to call it a Twilight Waterfall, why not? So if you head over to it and you bring the orb with you to get rid of it, you can then claw shot up to this chest and it has a heart piece inside of it. And that's pretty cool. We've only got one heart piece left. I'm not sure if you've noticed my hearts, but I'm on 18. So once I get that final heart piece, I'm going to be on 19. And then once I get the heart from beating this boss, I'll be on 20. So when we're doing the final dungeon, we're going to be on max hearts, which is pretty cool, I guess. So I have been 100% in this file. I'm not sure if you've seen the previous episodes, but if you haven't, I'm playing through the game 100% as well. However, I'm not recording that, so there is no footage of me playing through the game. It's just dungeons, this series. So we're back in the main part of the Twilight Realm, and I really like this outside part. I wish they did more with it. I wish there was like more puzzles out here to do. And I wish there was like more of a world to it, because the thing is, even though it's really cool, it just feels like a dungeon. Like, I wish they actually made like some kind of like massive like world out of this area rather than just a dungeon. I know a lot of people have said that. If you actually look at the map, it actually looks like Dead Hand from Ocarina of Time. If you look at the map layout, it's pretty weird, isn't it? However, with these enemies here, we're actually able to turn them back into humans with this ball. So you don't need to do this, but I like to do it for this example, just to be a good person and turn everyone back to the way they look, because yeah, that's what we're here to do. We're here to save the Twilight Realm, even though it doesn't really matter if you do it or not. But like in Ocarina of Time with the Fire Temple, like there's loads of Gorons trapped behind cages, but the reason you have to go behind the cages is because they have small keys, not to free the Gorons. You can happily go through the whole temple without even freeing the Gorons, and just get the small keys and just walk off, and it won't really affect the game. A bit like this example, a bit more of an extreme example, but there we go. So we've completed the first half of the dungeon, and we don't need to go back because we've got every chest there. And this is the second half of the dungeon, so I'm not sure if I mentioned this yet already, but this half of the dungeon is very similar to the first half. Now when I say that, the rooms are similar looking, all the rooms are very similar looking in this dungeon. That's something I might, like, that's something as well that I don't particularly like about this dungeon. All the rooms look almost the same. Like, all of the style is the same, like, all of the, like, textures are the same. I know you can say that about a lot of the dungeons, because the dungeon's designed to look that way, but all the colours just feel so samey in this dungeon. And it's really easy to get bored of this dungeon. Like, when I play this dungeon, I always just want to get to the boss. Like, I don't care much about the dungeon, I just care about the boss. With a lot of the dungeons though, I actually enjoy the dungeon more than the boss. Like Lakebed Temple, for example, I actually enjoy the whole dungeon way more than the boss. I actually dread doing the boss because the boss is annoying. But for this dungeon, it's like the opposite. And that's not really a good thing, because you want the dungeon to be enjoyable, because that's like the longest part. So we got a key from killing that Xanthead. I like the use of parkour there. I wish there was more parkour in this game. I think it is like a good element of Zelda games. There's nothing that needs to be in the game a lot, but I think just having some jumping here and there can be fun, and it can add more to the game, because it, rather than just fighting, there's platforming to do. Like, that can always be nice. Like, there's like things like hover boots are always cool to have in like Ocarina of Time. And I'm just using the scent mode just to show you that the fog turns like purple. It's pretty cool when you use the scent mode as Wolf Link, like things aren't always as they seem. But we just killed some shadow beasts, and if you played the original story, and if you're up to this dungeon, you will have played plenty to know that what those things are. And with shadow beasts, you have to kill all of them at once, and if you don't, they will automatically all come back to life, and you have to fight them again. So you don't want to have to do that. You want to just kill them all at once to be convenient. So we can kill these Xantheads right here, and once all the Xantheads are dead, we're going to get a chest. Something else I don't really like much about this dungeon is very formulaic, and as you can tell, we've had to do the same thing now 4 times. We've had to go into rooms that all look very similar to like each other. We've had to kill Xantheads in all of them, and then we get a reward chest, and we get a key for doing it. So that's something I dislike, because you'd never see that in another dungeon. Like, imagine if you were in, like, I don't know, Lakebed Temple or whatever. I know I keep using Lakebed Temple as an example, but it's a great dungeon, so I like to use it as an example. Like, imagine if you had to go into that dungeon, and there was, like, a room with, like, a water puzzle, and there was a key for doing it. Imagine if you had to do the same puzzle 4 times. It'd get really annoying, but no one really questions it in this dungeon, how you have to do, like, the same thing 4 times. They could have made a fun, like, Twilight dungeon with other puzzles, and they could have had loads of hard enemies everywhere. They could have had really cool enemies. They could have had like Dark Nuts. They could have had those Danalphos dragons everywhere. They could have had like more shadow enemies everywhere. They could have made the combat harder. They could have made the puzzles harder, but I just feel like that it's not very difficult. And something I've just thought of that is a bit weird, I think I noticed it when I was playing through it, but you actually get the map after you get the compass in this dungeon. I think that's the only time that ever happens, which is really weird. I don't know why they did that. It could have even been like a mistake, and I don't think it was though, because that's a pretty big mistake to put the map after the compass, but it just seems a bit weird to do that, because you kind of need the map and then the compass shows you where the chests are. But a lot of the chests are really easy to get to. There is 2 chests in this dungeon that are pretty difficult, and the boss key chest is pretty cool. I'm actually going to say that. I won't. You'll see where it is. That's going to be in part 2. The boss key chest is actually nice, and there is like 2 other chests that are nice. But other than that, all the chests are really easy to get to, and they're no harder than key chests. And key chests are like intended chests. But you could say that about every other dungeon, to be honest, because there's not any particularly super hard chests to find in dungeons. Especially like heart piece chests. Like obviously heart piece chests are harder to find than regular chests because they have heart pieces in them and they want to be more hidden, but at the same time they're not that hard to find either. So yeah, maybe I'm just criticizing this dungeon too much, but I just don't like how they repeat the same thing. Like right here we have to fight the same mini boss with, I think he's the same as well, he's got the same health and he throws the same kind of enemies at you. This could have worked if the first one was maybe like this and the second one was harder. I wouldn't really have complained so much, but having to do this boring mini boss twice in a row is really annoying. As you can see right here, we've got the same stuff going on. Warping's Ant. So we fight him, he warps, fight him, he warps. It's really RNG dependent, this fight. Like, I'm not talking about things like speedrun, I'm just talking about fighting in general. Like, it can go on for several minutes, it can sometimes be done really fast. And I'm pretty sure in this clip I actually got fairly lucky. And yeah, this is an example of me getting lucky. And it's still a boring fight. So yeah, we don't really have to use the hidden skills in any way, you just run at him and you fight him. Like, it doesn't implement anything, it doesn't implement the items in any way, it doesn't implement hidden skills, it doesn't implement like a new mechanic or item. It's just really boring, and the first half of this dungeon is just really boring, but the second half of this dungeon does make up for it because it is actually interesting. So we're going to get into that in the next episode. This first episode's just been me talking about all the bad stuff, but trust me, there is good stuff. If you like the video, please like the video and subscribe if you're new around here, and I will see you in part 2. Goodbye.